Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome back, Lieutenant Josh Johnson from the 115th Fighter Wing, and we're back into our fall analysis, where we've now created all of our data connections, our helper columns, and we've created our legacy pivot data. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to shift to Deams. So if you remember in the last video, all we did was we went to the Deams Raw tab, because that's where we want to create our pivot from. We have all of our helper columns over here to the right. So once I click into the center here, what I want to do is just go up to Insert and Pivot Table. And it's going to give me the range that we want. We've already named our table Deams Raw, and that's what we're looking for. And we're going to just create a new worksheet from it. So now down here, notice that you see sheet 5. Well, I'm going to name this Deams Analysis. And I'm going to change the tab color back to green, because green means go, red means stop. Now if you just hold your left arrow, you'll see that arrow and you just move it over, and so now you have all of your data tabs in a row. And so right here again, remember, click into your pivot table field list. You get your pivot tools bar, and analyze. I'm just going to clean it up a little bit for building purposes. I'm going to turn off my plus and minus buttons. I'm going to go to the design tab, and I'm going to change my report layout to tabular format so that each individual section has its own column. I'm going to turn off my grand totals, and I'm going to turn off my subtotals for right now while I build. I'm then just going to go up to the View tab one more time, and I'm going to remove grid lines so that it just kind of cleans up the image behind everything. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to start building our field list. Remember, we have filters, we have columns, we have rows, and we have values. Well, first, just like last time, we're going to make it very simple. We're just going to click fiscal year and drag it down here to rows. So now we have our fiscal years. Then we're going to come down here to our OC definition, and we're going to bring that on down. So now we have all of our OC definitions as they come across. Then we're going to grab our cost center, and we're going to bring that on down here to cost center. And then we're going to grab our OC, and we're going to bring it on down. And remember, what we showed last time is you don't necessarily need to bring it all down. If you just click it, it's going to assume that you want your rows figured out. And now again, what we're going to look for here is we're going to look for our dates. And right here you have a posted date right after ref 5. And remember, we're going to bring that up here to columns, and we're going to drop it down, because now we want to see how everything flows across. And just like in Legacy, go up here to your columns, and any of these dates, just click right click and then go to group. And what we're going to do is we're going to tell these individual date transactions that we want to group it. And so I'm just going to remove all this date and timestamp. I'm going to make this the end of my fiscal year. And then I want to do it by months and by years. So once both of those are highlighted and all of that data is there, you just click OK. Now you end up with your year here and your months below, which will give you a nice flow across your fiscal year. The last thing that we want to do is we want to be able to bring our amount down. If you just click an amount, rather than going into rows, it's going into values, because Excel knows I just found an entire column in a table that had nothing but numbers in it and no blanks. Now, if there was anything in there that had a number associated with it, it would be over here in the rows. Now, the last things that we want for filters is we want to go over here and we want to make sure that our OC sum is filtered, and we want to make sure our fall is filtered. And what we can go down and look for is exactly remember the formula. So for our OC sum, remember that we had it looking up all those things, and if it equaled 0, it was true. So now we want false as our filter. And then for the fall, remember that what we're looking for is, does it meet our threshold? So what we're looking for is a value of true. And now what it looks like is data is coming across. And now remember, if we just right click in the OC definition and we go to expand or collapse, and we collapse the entire field, what it's going to do is it's going to suck it all in and make it a lot smaller and cleaner for us to look at. Now we're going to go in and we're going to establish some subtotals and totals. So right here in the fiscal year, we right click and go to subtotal fiscal year, and now we end up with our fiscal year totals. And remember, if you have your normal bar here, if you move over to the left just enough until you get to the row numbers and you see that little black arrow change, just click there. It'll highlight all of your information, and then you can go in here and make it a different color, however you want to define it, and we end up with that data there. We also now realize, hey, we want to see our grand totals, so we're going to turn them on for rows and columns, because now we know exactly what we want. Now here we're looking at this data and we go, oh wow, that's just a bunch of numbers. If you remember right down here in the field settings, just click on that sum of amount, click on value field settings. You can change this to just amount, and remember that we had to click a plus or a space afterwards, so that it doesn't think that it's the same total or the same name as a field that already options. And then we're just going to click our number format, and I like accounting with 2 decimal places and a dollar sign. Click OK and OK. And now we're able to see how everything goes across. We can go in here and just double click to make sure that all of our tables are the right size. And now we're going to go and just extend this down a little bit so we have room for our slicers. And we're going to make it 80% because I like seeing small numbers. And the last thing that I like to tell people to do is when you go in here to design, there's row and column headers. If you turn your row headers off, it takes away all of those, every other bold that has anything underneath it, and just gives you a nice clean look. So now we're just going to go up here to Analyze, and we're going to insert our slicers. So now I'm going to choose fiscal year, I'm going to choose ESP code, I'm going to choose program for the PEC, I'm going to choose the cost center, and I'm going to choose my OC. And so now, then I'm going to bring that up all up here in line with exactly how I want to see it. So I want my ESP next, then I'm going to want my PEC, but I want to give a little room because I think I want my ESP to be a little bit bigger than that, and I want my PEC to be a little bit bigger than that, and I'm going to bring my cost center up, and I'm going to make that just a touch bigger, and then my OC is going to be a little bit bigger as well. And now remember, I'm just going to click on each header holding control, and then I'm going to minimize this to make it all the same size, and see where we're at. And now you can come in here and say, alright, I want to see my ESP, click in it, you get your slicer tools options. You can go ahead and expand that out to say 4 columns. Your program, you can click on that header and then make that maybe 3 columns. And your cost center, you can make that 3 columns. And your OC, I don't know if 3 will get in there, but it does. And then we're just going to group them by holding control and clicking each header. And up here under options and group, now it treats this entire section as one. Remember, it changes it to multi-directional arrows, and right click, go to size and properties, and under properties over here on the right, don't move or size with cells. And so now what you end up with is the capability to go through all of these and say, alright, well, you know what, all I want to do is look at FY16. That's only going to show me FY16. And I want to look at only AD because that's where I think ACA could improve. Well, it didn't need to because that overall ACA didn't adjust. How about COM? How about DM? How about SZ? Oh, there's 2 cents in our connections, and then there's the pound sign. So no ESP code associated with it, attributed to almost all of my fall in and fall out data set. So as you go through that, and then you just clear those filters, and it brings back all of that information again to what you were looking for. And you can play with it as much as you need to. Up here under design, you can go through and figure out, do I like different color schemes? Do I like darker color schemes? How do I want my information to see? And it gives you an instant preview down below on what type of data set you want to see. You can do the same thing with your slicers. If you click on one and go to options, you can change the color of your slicer. It doesn't give you the instant preview, but you can see the case as you go across. So play around and figure it out, and then the next video is going to show us how to bring it all together into one common dashboard using some pivot charts and a simple get pivot data. So again, Lieutenant Josh Johnson, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, please by all means track me down. Thank you.